It is so wonderful to see you all. Welcome, welcome to TFWA 2023. I'm Stephen Sacker. For those of you who are regulars here, you'll think, I've seen him before, and you're quite right. This is something that I've had the privilege of moderating and hosting for several years. Last year I missed it. I can't tell you how delighted I am to be back with you this year. I should begin with a word of congratulation. I was at the cocktails last night. I know that it went on long after I left, and I congratulate you all who were there to the bitter end, making it here for 9 o'clock in the morning. It's an early start, and you're all here. And you beat the Croisette roadworks as well, so well done, everybody. We have a terrific morning for you. It's a morning which I hope is going to offer you business insight. It's going to tell you things about your truly global industry that I think you can take away and use in your professional lives. It's also, I think, going to give you some insights into global politics that really will affect us all over the coming year and 18 months. In particular, we're going to drill down into what is happening in US politics right now with a fabulous guest, and I think you will all enjoy that. I always begin with one reflection, and this year my reflection is simply that in the last couple of weeks I've been traveling myself, as you all travel all of the time. My travel was perhaps a little unusual because a couple of weeks ago I was in Kiev, Ukraine, and then last week I was in Dubai, and in a sense that juxtaposition tells us something about the world we live in right now. Going to Kiev is an extraordinary experience because unlike, the world that existed 2 or 3 years ago, you can't just get on a plane, fly from London to Kiev and not think about it. You have to fly to Poland, you then get a bus to the border, you then get a long train overnight from the Polish border into the Ukrainian capital. And that tells us something about the turbulence and the disturbance that we are currently facing in the world as we consider a geopolitical situation which, at the very best, is troubling and, at the worst, is deeply alarming. And we will reflect a little on that later in the morning. But then I went to Dubai and I was struck by just how resilient the travel and travel retail industry is, because in Dubai, despite everything that happened with the pandemic, with the energy crisis, with economic challenges throughout the world, you get the sense of an economy that is still humming, thriving, an airport which is absolutely teeming with people even in the middle of the night. You guys in your business are so resilient and have met so many challenges in recent years, it never ceases to amaze me. So I salute you all for that, and I hope that this week, with a bigger and better TFWA than ever, will leave you feeling very confident about the future, despite the challenges that I have just mentioned. That's it from me for now. I'm going to be your guide through the rest of the morning, but as ever at TFWA, we like to begin with a sort of broad horizon state of the industry address, and the only person who should be doing that, your friend and mine, is the president of TFWA, Erik Juul Mortensen. So let's give a very warm welcome to him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the TFWA Board and Management Committee, I would like to wish you a very warm welcome to the 38th tax-free World Association, World Exhibition and Conference. I was delighted to see so many of you at the opening cocktail on the Carlton Beach yesterday. For many of us, this was the first real catch-up with colleagues and friends in a long time, and it was particularly good to see our Asian and American colleagues back in force after several years of pandemic-related travel restrictions. The 2023 exhibition is playing host to some exciting new names alongside the brands that are long-standing exhibitors in the Palais des Festivals. The total floor space occupied this year is above pre-COVID levels, setting a new record. There are indications that visitor numbers by the end of this week will compare favorably with 2019 too. We at TFW are grateful to both exhibitors and visitors for your support. Among the changes you will notice in the exhibition is the new majestic beach village, which brings into play an additional area for exhibitors, while TFWA iLab, the industry's innovation showcase, moves to a new home in the Golden Village. There are plenty of positivity around duty-free and travel retail at the moment. People are hungry to travel again, as shown by the healthy results many airlines have reported this year, but we are not quite back to where we were in 2019. IATA global passenger numbers for the first 6 months of 23 are around 10% behind their pre-COVID level, although the deficit for June narrowed to 5.8%. The surge in air traffic, although welcome, has created some staffing problems, since 43% of airport workers worldwide left the sector during the pandemic, according to the Air Transport Group Action Group. The combination of the loss of highly experienced and specialist staff and the move to hybrid working have made recruiting even more difficult. The recovery is, however, patchy, with some airports in Europe much closer to pre-pandemic levels. Traffic in Asia is taking longer to return, with the region's airline passengers in June at 3/4 of their 2019 level. But China's recent expansion of authorized destinations for group travel will help. Overall, ACI World predicts global air passenger traffic of 8.6 billion this year, 94% of the pre-pandemic level. But there are concerns in some quarters that rising airfares and the rising cost of living may dilute the demand for travel. The cruise and ferry sector is also seeing a robust recovery. The baseline forecast of the Cruise Line International Association for this year foresees passenger volumes some 6% above 2019. That the market has changed since COVID has by now become a cliche, yet it remains true. Travelers are returning, but buying habits have evolved. Average transaction values have risen, but footfall and conversion statistics sometimes fall short of pre-pandemic levels. For a clearer picture, TFWA commissioned global management consultant Kearney to examine the current state of the market and assess its attraction to brands as an investment. The Kearney report, which is based on interviews with over 35 industry experts and a survey of 3,500 travelers from 10 countries, suggests that industry stakeholders must work together more closely to build a true value proposition for our customers. Even though traffic is recovering strongly, average spend per passenger is below pre-pandemic levels. Price perception compared with domestic markets is often negative, and the product offer in travel retail does not always match the expectations of the modern traveller. The report suggests that our industry must transition from a one-size-fits-all approach to segmented value propositions tailored to each customer segment across 4 pillars. 1, assortment. 2, experience, services, and price and promotion. The shift will require input from beyond the famed Trinity, as one senior airport executive told the authors of the Kearney report. We need to think beyond the trinity of retailers, brands, airport, and include media and digital companies, and also airlines. The trinity lacks stakeholder cooperation and is not customer-centric. Moving beyond it will allow us to build a better customer experience. We trust the report will give us some food for thought this week in Cannes, and further highlights will be presented at the TFW Airport Forum in the Majestic Hotel tomorrow at 8 a.m. This last year has clearly demonstrated the resilience that our industry has shown time and again in the face of geopolitical and socio-economic challenges. We're witnessing a wave of creativity as retailers and brands address the demographic shift among passengers and the new awareness of our planet's fragility. With so much positivity and creativity in our industry, we have every reason to be optimistic. But let me offer you another perspective. Yes, we are resilient and creative, but is there a risk we are living in a bubble of self-congratulation? In my view, there are some basic topics we must address to re-establish ourselves as an industry that is relevant and helps connect people around the world. It requires, again in my view, some major step changes and initiatives that we should all embrace. Firstly, sustainability. Sustainability dominates the news and is a huge focus for Generation Z, a growing part of our potential customer base. We all talk about sustainability, and some companies are doing brilliant work to ensure their products are manufactured, packaged, and retailed with minimal environmental impact, while also supporting the communities involved. That in stores we see isolated displays showcasing products that are labeled as sustainable. What does that say to our customers? That 1% of our offer is sustainable and the rest is not? No, we need to be more ambitious, setting ourselves key targets for sustainability in our product assortment and communicate those targets and milestones more boldly to our customers. Secondly, relevance. And here I want to talk about 2 issues where we all need to show some real leadership. Every house, however stunning it looks, must be built on strong foundations. Yet, as an industry, we consistently avoid some very basic issues, foundations that we need to fix. Our industry is one of the few in the world whose ability to operate depends entirely on the actions of governments. Look at what happened in the UK 2 years ago. The government simply abolished the tax exceptions on goods sold to departing passengers. And as politicians around the world search for revenues to support stagnating or crumbling economies and aging population, how long will it be till our industry is targeted as another fiscal opportunity, rather than being seen as a valuable contributor to vital transport structures, international connectivity, and better cultural understanding? Nobody else is going to protect our industry. It's up to us, and we can do it. The first requirement is data to communicate the size and economic benefits of our industry. I cannot think of any other sector that doesn't have reliable data. The ETRC index is a model for what we need in each region around the world, and it's only made possible by the data received from retailers. I know this is a concession-based business and it's competitive, but surely we should all be able to agree some parameters for sharing industry data at global and regional levels. If it cannot be this year's data because of competition concerns, then let's agree to provide data at region, channel, and category level with a 3-year lag. We could start with 2019 pre-pandemic as a baseline. It needs the leadership of the CEOs in this room to commit to that. Next on my list is the need to stand firm in the face of allegations made about our industry by the World Health Organization as part of their protocol to eliminate illicit trade in tobacco products. Let me be very clear. The WHO's misplaced efforts to link duty-free and travel retail with illicit trade are a real threat to an important part of our industry. Over recent years, the industry and its associations have done a great job in defending itself against the WHO's allegation, and we need to replicate that success. We are now reaching a crucial moment with the next WHO meeting of the parties, the countries that are signatories to the protocol, taking place in Panama in November. At that meeting, the WHO will see and probably gain approval for a research study to, and I quote the WHO, to ascertain the extent of illicit trade in tobacco products related to duty-free sales of such products and consider appropriate further action. The WHO has already decided that our industry is guilty. For them, it's just a matter to what extent we are guilty. The industry has recently commissioned an intended detailed study which clearly shows that of the illicit trade in tobacco products globally, only 0.067% can be attributed to the genuine duty-free and travel retail channel. Our supply chain is one of the most secure in the world, and the percentage of notified seizures of genuine duty-free and tax-free cigarettes is extremely low and is confined to a small number of isolated instances. That needs to be brought to zero. Every supplier, distributor and retailer needs to be absolutely clear that having even one or two companies thinking they can profit from illegitimate practices is playing a dangerous game. Such companies should have no place in this industry, and the vast law-abiding majority should not have any business relationship with them. My third ask is the duty-free World Council's Trusted, Transparent, Secure campaign, which the Council and TFWA launched jointly last year. It's a crucial element in demonstrating the sound principles that our industry is built on. We need to reinforce our credibility and clearly and publicly position ourselves as a model business, committing to the values that governments, regulators, and our customers want to see: authenticity, trading honestly, and taking a zero-tolerance approach to illicit trading, counterfeiting, and intellectual property theft across every product category. These criminal activities unfairly tarnish our collective reputation as an industry when counterfeit goods are fraudulently mislabeled as duty-free to add authenticity. They cost industries like duty-free and travel retail millions every year in lost sales opportunities. And I salute the retailers and suppliers who have already shown leadership by signing up to the duty-free, trusted, transparent, secure campaign, and I urge every retailer and supplier here today to do the same. Sign the campaign declaration and commit to a zero-tolerance approach to illicit trade within your organization. You will find the campaign's contact details on the screen behind me. I know there are plenty of companies in the audience today with the will and vision to truly move this industry forward. The long-standing issue of a fair revenue split between landlords, retailers, and suppliers remains unresolved. But on the questions of sustainability, data supply chain security, and transparency, we can make a real difference in the next 12 months. A lot is at stake. It requires ambition, leadership, and a willingness to work together. I know that this audience has those leaders, and I call on those of you ready to drive this forward to stand up and be counted. This morning, I'm privileged to share the podium with some illustrious guest speakers. Bob Woodward,